Okay, for my presentation, I decided to do a form for betting on any form of competition where each player has a ranked position, first, second, third, all the way to last. So for my example, I decided to do the currently airing season of Survivor, which has 18 contestants. And as you see over here, it says contestants, and there's 18 of them. Up here it says participants, and this is where the participants' names will be up here, this row. And as you can see, I already have 5 in here. These are just randomly generated. So what each cell in the table means that whatever name at the top of the column is, that participant predicted that the player at that row would get on the current season of Survivor before the season of Survivor started airing. So, for example, right here, this means that Diane predicted that Jake would get 18th place. If we scroll down here, here are the average predictions for all the contestants, for all the participants made for each contestant. So they predicted that Brando Meyer would do the best and that Sabai would do the worst. Here are the actual placements. Just as a disclaimer, the current season of Survivor is still currently airing, and the top 6 have not yet been decided, so I just randomly decided the top 6. And as you'll see, Dee was the winner of the season, while Hannah was the first one voted off. Back to these first 5. These are all randomly, and here's the formula I used up here to get the random ones, but I didn't like how when you would change a cell, they would all change, so I decided to just paste the values in. Now to the macros. Here's where you can add a submission. So I will put in my name here, and then I'll put in my submission for each player. So I predicted that Kelly Nalbandian would get first, and I predicted that Hannah Rose would get last. So as you'll notice, there's nothing here right now, but when you press submit, boom, it automatically puts all the data from the user form into the Excel table. I'll do another one just to show. So in this example, it doesn't really matter much, but I just said this person just guessed that they would place alphabetically. And you'll notice that it keeps putting it to the right, to the right, to the right, so it'll never be an overlap. Here's my code for the specific part. So I used the Excel to the right function to make sure that it would constantly add a new row each time without overlapping. And up here, each text box, this is like the first names, and then each value for each player in alphabetical order would be from that value. Up here is where I made a bunch of constraints to show, and I will show this, but it basically ensures that each submission has a name. Placements have to be possible, obviously, through 1 and 18, and then placements must be integers. For example, let's say that this person did not put a name in. So they have all their placements for each player put in, but no name. When they press submit, it says no name added, try again, and you'll notice it does not add anything. Let's name this person decimal. You'll notice there are decimal values, and it says placements must be integers, try again. So that doesn't work. And it also doesn't work with fractions either, because they are the text boxes are string values, and I use the inString function to determine if there is a decimal or a fraction, just to, before I turn it into a value, just to make sure that it's an integer, basically. Okay, lastly, I will do this person named extrapolate, and I will start to put in the values. And you will notice I decided to put this in alphabetical order too, but instead of the last placement being out of 18, I made it out of 19. And this doesn't work. Placements have to be achievable, 1 through 18. You will notice that I did not put in any function to ensure that 2 players cannot share the same position, because in this example of Survivor, sometimes players do share the same position, like they'll get voted off simultaneously, so I just decided not to add it for this specific example, but in other examples, participants should be mindful of how many, of who gets what placement, and make sure they don't repeat placements. So down to the last part, here is determining the winner of the bet. So I decided to say the winner of the bet would be the participant who had the lowest average absolute residual value of their placements compared to the actual placements. So here's what that means. Andrew predicted Austin would get 6th place, but in reality, Austin got 4th place. So that means that his average absolute value for that one specific, for Austin specifically, is 2, and then it takes the average of all 18 and then puts out a number. The lowest number is the winner of the bet. So if I decide to say determine winner, I did include a winner multiple factor that would give correctly guessing the winner a higher point value than other contestants, but I did make it optional. So in this example, I will say, well, let's not do it. It says the winner of the bet is Luke with an average absolute residual value of 5.17, which means my average value from the contestant's actual placement to my predicted placement of where they would place was 5.17 placements away. It's not surprising that I did the best. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but these are all randomized. And when I made my prediction, I watched the contestant interviews, and just like you can kind of tell like how good or bad someone's going to do. So it's unsurprising. But you'll notice that I said the winner D would get 3rd place, but in reality D got 1st place, and Andrew said D would get 1st place. So let's say I decided to include the winner multiple factor, which basically it takes that average residual value for, not average, but for the winner D in this situation, and it takes that value and it adds it onto your current score. So let's say I decide to include it, and let's do it to the 3rd degree, which basically it multiplies that value by 3. And it says that including the winner factor, the winner of the bet is Andrew with an average absolute residual value of 5.39. Okay, so even though my results were closer for every single contestant, since Andrew was able to correctly guess the winner of the competition, he would win the bet when you include the winner multiple factor. So here's the code for that macro. This right here basically ensures that the value is positive, and unlike the placements for each contestant, I did allow the winner multiple factor to be any number, integer, or like double. So basically what it does is it puts in the text box value, and then it uses that number and multiplies it by like the winner value, and then it will use a horizontal lookup function to give the name and the score of the winner in the message box. And then the final macro I added is just to clear new submissions. This would only be used at the very end of the bet to wipe it clean and like start like a new season of Survivor or a new event. So if I do this, you'll notice it clears all of this, but realistically it would delete all of them, but I didn't want to constantly have to add new participants every single time I would do that macro, so I decided not to do that. But in a real situation it would. And you'll notice it's a very, very simple way to clear all the contents in there. So that's my presentation. I hope it's useful. I think it's pretty useful because I do love to bet on Survivor, and it will really speed up the process quickly. So yeah, thank you for watching.